We found a way to rank the youth intake capability of every single country in Football Manager, forever answering the question, who produces the best young players, in a definitive global ranking. We also found a way to turn it into an app, which you can use to determine how different database sizes affect the amount of players that come in from each country in a youth intake and the quality of the players that are produced based off of your database size in each individual country. And by the end of this video, you will know how to use that app so that you can use it to make your Football Manager saves much more enjoyable, or just look around to see which countries are producing the best youth players according to the world's biggest soccer football scouting system. But arguably the most important thing is our definitive ranking of the best youth producing nations. And we're gonna make this a top 30 because what we use to calculate this is the average players in an intake with at least 150 potential. For those that don't know, in Football Manager, potential's on a range of 1 to 200, 200 being peak Messi and 1 being me. I tell myself at least I'm a 2 so I can fall asleep at night, but 1 is probably accurate. Anyways, the average players in an intake with 150 plus potential. The next question to answer, of course, is database size. We wanted this to be a full database for our definitive ranking. So that would be every single player in the world loaded, and then an intake comes in, right? The only playable league there was Iceland. We figured we'd go out of the way in a very small country that's in Football Manager so we aren't loading databases that could mess up our data set. And the reason we're giving you the top 30 right now is because there's only 30 countries that averaged at least one player at least 150 potential ability in their youth intakes. Only 30, but 150 is pretty freaking good. And we start at number 30 with Venezuela. You had that one on your bingo card, didn't you? Number 29, Denmark. Also averaged 1.0, but the average was slightly higher, so Denmark does clock in at 29. Number 28, the Czech Republic. Produced some pretty darn good players. They also to the exact tune of 1.0, right? But marginally higher. Number 27, Romania. This is strictly just for the cool names. Clearly, Romania is at 1.1 players of at least 150 potential per youth intake. These numbers are gonna shoot up at a certain point, you'll notice. Number 26, Chile. Bodes well for South America, obviously, overall, but Chile, you might have noticed playing Football Manager, doesn't produce fabulous players. They're out of a golden generation in real life, and that is reflected in the game, and producing 1.2 is not great relative to their competitors. Number 25, Scotland. I can only assume the makers of Football Manager are raging Braveheart fans. Number 24, Ecuador. And Ecuador is all the way up at 1.4, so that's an extra fourth of a player. I don't know how that works out exactly, but here's an idea. I'm pretty sure that's what defenses actually see when they go up against Fred and McTominay. Anyways, number 23, Cameroon. All the rumors that, Africa, particularly Western and Sub-Saharan Africa, not necessarily as good in FM as they should be in real life. Well, Cameroon's over here 23rd at 1.5, so they're doing fine. Number 22 is Iran. You would have noticed this if you played Football Manager a lot. Iran produces great players, cheap players, and checks in at 1.8. Number 21, Algeria. North Africa represent. Number 20 is South Africa. Despite the fact their national team doesn't have a ton of success, they have a productive domestic league, and that does wonders for producing decent, talented youth players in Football Manager. And then Paraguay checks in at number 19 with also 1.9 really good Wonderkids produced per cycle. That means every country above this point is producing at least 2, and that starts with Japan at number 18. Japan's producing the 18th best Wonderkids in the world right now, according to Football Manager. Also, Egypt is 17th in the world. They produce 2 exactly as well. Number 16, Ivory Coast. Get your scouts down to Ivory Coast now. They are freaking 16th in the world at 2.3 Wonderkids per year. But they've got nothing on their neighbors Nigeria, who are 15th and producing 2.8 great Wonderkids per year. Now we're gonna start to rocket ship up now that we're in the top 15, because the top 10 to 15 in basically every experiment, every database size are gonna be essentially the same, with the order changing slightly. So these are the ones that are locked in no matter what size the database is. Number 14 is Turkey at 4.1 really good Wonderkids per cycle. Number 13 is Belgium, 4.7, which feels low, doesn't it? Belgium fluctuates pretty wildly depending on database size, but when you go with like the full size database, they drop all the way down to 14, 13. I can count. Number 12 is Mexico at 5. The issue is you got to pay them ridiculous wages to get them out of Mexico. Number 11, and you might need to pick your jaw up off the floor because the countries this country is in front of, Serbia. Serbia checks in with 5.7 really good Wonderkids per cycle in a full database. Crazy. And they're right next to everybody's favorite Wonderkid spot, number 10, Colombia, who also has 5.7 fabulous Wonderkids per cycle. But that is the last one that is under 12. So yeah, the 9 that I'm about to read off to you in the top 9 are in a whole different ball game than any other country in the world. And at number 9, the Netherlands, clocking in at 12. Nearly 3 times the output that Belgium had in this test. Number 8, and this is startling, Germany. Germany had just 13.4 really good Wonderkids per cycle. They're behind Argentina, who's in 7th with 16.5 excellent Wonderkids per cycle. And then there's Italy at number 6. Even though they haven't made 2 consecutive World Cups, Italy's still producing 17.1 great Wonderkids per cycle. But that's not good enough for the top 5. That's where Portugal rules the roost at number 5 with 17.4. And that is the last under 27. The really cool kids club is the top 4, and that's where we start with France, which produces 27 per cycle at 150 or above. Sheesh. Number 3 is Brazil, 35.1, which is really good, but also would have thought that was higher. Number 2, Spain, 36, right above Brazil. I mean, that's respectable. But number 1 of Football Manager, it's England at 49.3. But the issue with the English Wonderkids is that they're dumb expensive. Their average asking price is nearly 14 million pounds initially. The only one that's ahead of that in the top 72 is China. You nailed it. China has asking price average of 22.5 million and produces 0.1, by the way. Awesome surprising areas you didn't think about that did make at least this list of the top 72 that had at least 0.1. Tanzania had half an excellent Wonderkid every cycle, which is crazy. They're 43rd. Azerbaijan had 0.3. El Salvador had 0.3. The Faroe Islands actually had 0.2, which is crazy. They checked in at 55th in the world. Guatemala, Iraq, Kazakhstan all made the top 72, which is rounded out by the United States in 72nd. The US is not great in Football Manager right now for developing youth players. But that list is just a small taste of the information that you now have access to, thanks to one man. And we must now pray. Oh, we are gathered here to pray today to the mighty Stephen, who is the analytical genius that has comprised all of these wonderful analytical numbers in a genius way, who without we would not have this information, and a man that seeks no recognition. He was asked outside of his name. Oh, Stephen, thank you for your service to the Football Manager community. And hey, let's work together again sometime, Stephen. You know, this has been fun. That brings us to this wonderful tool that Stephen put together to present the information that Stephen knew how to gather, because Stephen's brain even bigger than mine. And I mean, we're talking about a lot of real estate up here. So when you enter into the website, you'll go to a homepage that'll remind you what each section is. We're going to the scouting map. Now, the section that you were taken to initially will reorient you in all of this if you happen to forget what is happening with something. But the most familiar area for us is nation details. And the most important thing here on this whole website is that you can go to the left and change scenarios. Now, you have large database, no leagues, all players added. You could scroll down. You have top 5 leagues with selected nations added, top 5 leagues with players added worldwide. You can go all the way to small database, no leagues added, and you see how the average players per youth intake changes everywhere except for Iceland, which is the only playable league added. And if you're like, well, how do I know which leagues are added and playable in a small database, playable leagues? You can just go over to database setup and it will tell you exactly how each database was set up in case you ever forget. And I don't have to sit here and tell you that now. But in nation details, you can sort by the average potential ability of a youth intake. So if I type in 150, we get every youth intake that averages over 150. Now, some of these are statistical anomalies. When you look at a group like China with a small database and playable leagues loaded, with Syria, United Arab Emirates, the only player they're producing 0.1 per intake, right? Very rare. But the only player they're producing actually ends up being a pretty good player. They just don't produce any players. Whereas a lot of the familiar nations are still doing very well. Nigeria holds up particularly well in this particular database setup. You can also sort by asking price or just generically sort by national youth rating. And on the right here, you can even say the average players per youth intake and search by nation, average potential produced, max potential produced. There's more information than you could possibly know what to do with, and you can filter all of it. You can even look at it as a world map, as like a heat map. So let's type in 100, right? Red being real serious hotspots, green being it's still possible. So average player potential of at least 100 in this type of database setup. The green countries are going to be a little bit, and then if you hover over the red countries, you'll see a lot. You'll see a distribution of the type of players coming through the intake. You'll see that distribution in Peru and in Bolivia, and this helps you if you're looking at your scouting map in Football Manager, or if this is just an easier way for your brain to process the information. You can still just hover over everybody, and dang it, Kazakhstan's not there. Let's go down. I want Kazakhstan in here. Yay! There's also something we just haven't even talked about, a wonderful personality checker. This is super easy tool. The mighty Steven just tacked onto this website for you. There's a drop down with every personality search bar at the top. So if you're like, what is Slack? You go ahead and click on that, and it will present you with a graph. Slack is incredibly low professionalism. The minimum, maximum, and average is down here. It's lower than average ambition. If we just unclick Slack, you'll see an average player distribution for all of Football Manager. Let's just go click on another one. Let's say devoted. Players that are devoted. Very weird. 0% of players actually meet these conditions. And if you hate looking at this graph, well, the numbers are in the bottom right. So you can see the average, max, and min, and they're all in a range of 1 to 20, like every attribute in Football Manager. And if you want to do a nice little double comparison, you can add in a media handling style. You can go through your Wonderkids, put their personality and media handling style in, and figure out exactly what the range is behind the scenes so that you know what kind of player you're dealing with mentally. This tool, just as much as the scouting map, is going to hopefully help you out in the game. And last but not least, there is an FAQ for questions you feel like I didn't answer in this video that you want to ask. Do playable leagues produce more youth than non-loaded leagues with players added? It's a pretty word salad question, but it's got an answer. And you got to click on the whole website thing to check it out. So click on the link to this. Thank you to Steven, and thank you to you guys for putting this channel in a position that we are able to support brilliant people like Steven and creating things like this and then getting it out to you. And if you appreciate this kind of effort from Steven and want to support us being able to create more things like this to help you guys in Football Manager, or just be super interested in this sort of stuff in a scouting sense, then please do subscribe to the channel. And if you're like, wow, this tool is cool, what's another cool tool that this channel might have created? That helps you get real ethnically accurate faces on all of your newly generated players. That's the tutorial about how to do it. It is very real, and it works, and it's awesome. I use it on stream. You can come check it out anytime on Twitch. We're in 2028. Everybody's got a face. It's great.